Well, thanks very much, Alex. The first thing I know this morning is that today is a terrible day to go on sick call because it looks like there are like no doctors anywhere in Army clinics any place. So, thanks for coming, General West, Sergeant Major Ecker, um, uh, more general and flag officers and senior medical people here than you can shake a stick at. So I'll just use that great African tradition and say simply all protocol observed, and so everybody should feel welcome. And we're in good shape. These hot topics that the Association of the United States Army sponsors are intended to focus on a particular topic, a bit of a deep dive that allows us to bring together Army leadership, industry, and others in the community who are interested in this particular topic. And so today is a particularly important one because it talks and addresses soldiers, which is what is the most important resource that the Army has. And so this, I think, is timely, given all the swirl and turmoil that's going on about Army medicine and military medicine writ large. But as we look back over the past 15 years or so of conflict, I think we can say with justifiable pride that Army medicine has transformed and performed in an extraordinary fashion over the past 15 years. You all know this far better than I do, but survivability rates, the technological advances, the advances in advanced trauma care, the training and professional development of Army medics, physicians, and other medical professionals has just been extraordinary over the past 15 years. As a former infantryman, to boil that down into simple terms, soldiers going into combat today have tremendously high confidence that should the worst thing happen, should they be wounded in combat, that the medical care that will be provided to them on scene, in transit, and upon arrival at a medical treatment facility is far beyond anything some old farts like General Schoonmaker and me, like we envisioned as we were growing up. That is absolutely extraordinary. And that gives confidence, that brings strength to an Army that is increasingly operationally deployed. So it's again a very, very timely topic that we take on today. While we look back with great pride about what has been accomplished, the real challenge is to look forward and say, what next? What are the challenges that Army medicine will face, that military medicine will face in the coming years, decade, for the next generation? And that's the purpose of today's hot topic. There is an incredible amount of challenges, some of them fiscal and end strength requirements. There are challenges with regard to how does Army medicine address the readiness needs of the total force, regular Army, Army National Guard, and Army Reserves? What are the innovative technologies that are on the horizon that are about ready to be employed across the force? And then are there other capabilities that the force of the future will require as we move to an Army of 2025 and beyond? And throughout the day today, you will find an incredible array of subject matter experts coming from a wide variety of backgrounds, certainly from those who are still serving in the Army, but those who have served before, those who have industry backgrounds, and many other thought leaders across our nation in this community. So again, we're very proud here at the Association to be your hosts for this hot topic. Again, a subject that we think is near and dear to all of our hearts. A couple of thanks. First, Lieutenant General West and Sergeant Major Ecker and the team of Army Medical Command and the Office of the Surgeon General. Thank you very, very much for your support in putting together what we believe is an extraordinary agenda for today's hot topic. You'll see an incredible array of panelists, other medical professionals who will participate today, And like many Army conferences, there typically is more learning that occurs during the breaks and in the hallways and over lunch, which I should warn you, I think the Surgeon General has a posting outside of Five Guys. She's going to do cholesterol testing as you come out of Five Guys. We'll see. And then, of course, a bit later this morning, we are truly honored to have the Undersecretary of the Army, Undersecretary Murphy, will have the opportunity to join us. If nothing else, that conveys the importance of this topic, the fact that he carved out time from his crazy schedule, as you all know what he goes through on a daily basis. But this was important enough to him that he needed to come here and take the opportunity to address this group. So thanks all who have put this great hot topic agenda together. It's now, our first speaker is someone who is well known to all in this room. And as Alex said, you have her bio, 1982 graduate of the United States Military Academy. She is the senior woman to have graduated from the United States Military Academy. She's a D.C. native. George Washington, got her medical degree from George Washington, but what's really important is that she did her internship at Fort Benning, right? And there was able to learn a bit about what the Army is really about. I didn't know General West until one day, General Schoonmaker, the Surgeon General, called me up and said, "Hey, I'm gonna assign Colonel promotable Nadja West to be the commanding general of the European Regional Medical Command." And I happened to have been commanding in Europe at the time. I didn't know Colonel West at the time, but I knew General Schoonmaker, and if she was good enough for him, she was good enough for me. And boy, was I wrong. No, she was extraordinary. I had the opportunity to meet her at Fort Bragg before she came over to Europe. Was impressed at our initial meeting. But what you learn very quickly about General West is not only is she an extraordinary Army medical professional, she is an extraordinary leader, a leader who exhibits all of the characteristics that we expect of our most senior leaders, the most important of which I think are integrity and character. She loves soldiers, which is a good characteristic for the Surgeon General of the United States Army to have, and spends every waking moment thinking about soldiers and what should Army Medical Command, what should Army Medicine be doing to make sure that soldiers, their families, other beneficiaries are getting the best possible medical care and support that the nation can possibly provide. I also got to know General West as mom to two extraordinary children, Sydney, who is overseas right now, and then there's a West Point cadet who looks strikingly like his mother. He takes some flack for that amongst his classmates at the United States Military Academy, which is not a bad thing. And her husband, Don, if you have had the opportunity to meet him, we're probably not allowed to give the Army Family of the Year award to a lieutenant general, but we probably should. She has been the epitome of professionalism in her service career, but also in her personal characteristics. And it's my great honor and privilege to welcome to the podium the 44th Surgeon General of the United States Army, my friend, Lieutenant General Nadja West.
Come on, sir. Why do you want to do that to me this in the morning? I'm trying to keep a straight face, but I really appreciate that. What a such a kind introduction, and the feeling is mutual. I mean, now we're going to get off script because I can go on and on about General Ham. But sir, thank you so much for your leadership in uniform, all that you did for soldiers. Talking about loving soldiers, General Ham epitomizes that, and thank you for your leadership here, because who better to lead an organization than someone who really does care about soldiers and taking it so seriously. So, sir, thank you so much again for that, for your leadership, for the mentorship that made me really a good general officer, a great, I won't say great, good general officer, based upon your mentoring of me early on in my tenure. And also like to thank all those who put this on here today. Again, as General Ham mentioned, we have a really great show for you. I would say a show, but it's a great panel, great time to share ideas and thoughts. And one of the things, my remarks here are going to be extremely brief because I think it's the panel members that we need to have you hear from. But of course, Army Medicine, all of our team knows we're one team with one purpose: to conserve the fighting strength, and that's what our agenda here is about today. We do have a unique mission in Army Medicine. We do what no one else in the world can do, and it's no slight to our civilian colleagues who are in the healthcare business. They provide extremely great support to our nation, but there's no one, again, on the face of the earth that can do what we do in Army Medicine, and I would extend that to my service colleagues in our Joint Health Services enterprise. Our priority is very simple. General Milley has told me and told us all what that is. It's readiness. He says readiness is number one, and there is no other number one. And for us, I see that divided into three areas to ensure that we're covering all of them. One of them is the current fight. Of course, there's a future fight and then the always fight. In our current fight, it's to make sure that we have a medically ready force that's ready to go anywhere that we might be asked to and in any mission that we're asked to accomplish. We also have to make sure that our medical force is ready as well. We need to be agile and adaptable to ensure that we're ready to do whatever our nation, what our Army asks us to do. And so that's our current fight. Our future fight, we need to make sure that we have the capabilities that our service and our joint force needs. We need to make sure that the formations that we have are still relevant for what we might be asked to do in any aspect of what the national security strategy, what our nation asks us to do. And then the always fight is taking care of those entrusted to our care, our soldiers for life, our family members, and anyone that we're asked to, anyone that comes to us, either in our military treatment facilities, in our outposts, in our formations where we just might have one or two folks that wear the Army Medicine crest, that we take care of them anywhere that they are. So the vision I have for Army Medicine is, again, as those of us on the team realize, we're the premier, expeditionary, and globally integrated force that's ready to meet the ever-changing challenges of today and tomorrow. And everyone and every member of the team is instrumental in achieving that, regardless of the position that they hold. Not only our service members, our civilians, our contractors, our Red Cross volunteers, everyone who makes up Army Medicine. And so the four panels we have today are designed to explore what we mean when we say that readiness is important to us, and then also what we say that readiness is, how we define it for our Army and Army Medicine. And I look forward to really a robust discussion, as General Ham mentioned. And as we transition to the first panel, we have a short video to illustrate an example of how responsive and agile Army Medicine is in response to global operations. And General Ham, as the former U.S. AFRICOM commander, might appreciate this. So please roll the video here.
It's an incredibly complex environment. It's an incredibly complex environment. Africa is huge. It's 3.7 times the size of the continental United States, and there are vast areas of difficult terrain, limited infrastructure, limited transportation assets. It's very austere. Then you mix in with that small groups doing different kinds of missions all around the continent. You can have a very high-risk operational environment. It's clearly not feasible to put surgical teams with every operation over thousands of square miles. What we asked for was a team that was mobile enough to move to locations of greatest operational risk and be light enough to do that with a minimal footprint and be able to get on aircraft of opportunity with units that are moving around the continent.
When I was the Joint Staff Surgeon and I received a call from the AFRICOM surgeon just discussing the need for having some type of medical capability. There are not a lot of military treatment facilities or civilian treatment facilities that are within the, quote, golden hour time and distance. So you can go 7, 8, 9 hours by air before you even get to a treatment facility. So there was a request to all services for capability to support that. They just needed a small footprint unit, about an 8-member team to go along with units that were in action. The problem is that there is really no UIC or unit identification code that any of the services had that fulfilled that requirement. Bottom line is that requirement was about to go unfilled. In fact, it did go unfilled for many months. So fast forward to December when I became the Surgeon General, I said, okay, now let's try to do something to meet the need so we don't have our combatant commands feeling the need to have to contract out this solution.
She came to me and said, you know, we need to fill this capability. And so with that, we started the process for filling and fielding a surgical capability out of our generating assets or our medical centers and our medical hospitals out of Hyde. We synchronized with Headquarters Department of the Army to see, first off, that to validate all of our forward surgical teams were unable to field this RFF. Once we validated that, working with the Vice Chief of Staff of the Army and the Chief of Staff of the Army, who thought it was a great idea for us to utilize our medical command healthcare professionals to bring together, you know, a sort of ad hoc or a unique, never done before capability. The training was very extensive and very thorough, a phenomenal job with the combination of AMED Center and School and the Uniforms Health Services University, put together a austere environment training package that was out of this world.
We were able to identify subject matter experts throughout the AMED. The Army has a tremendous wealth of clinical providers that have skills and that bring a wealth of experience. However, there's a very select few that have had the necessary experience and necessary mission experience working with special operations and in austere environment to provide the type of training that we need for our personnel on this mission.
So the team that was brought here for subject matter expertise was brought together large part from the special operations background. So we took the principles that we had learned when we were in training, when we were going downrange, and put those into scenario-based, high-fidelity training so we could take these docs and nurses through the iterations that they could expect in an austere environment. And we really want to get them to the point where they can fully complete the mission in a small space with the right amount of equipment that they can carry on their back to provide resuscitative surgical care and save lives on the battlefield.
Being in Iraq, we were split FST out there with some great people and saved a bunch of lives in a pretty austere environment, and that was one of those things that led me to the conclusion that I could do the things that I'd been trained to do, and to be in this environment providing this care for these men and women that are out there on the front lines, and then bringing all these other medical personnel their training from different specialties. I mean, it's been really an honor.
Readiness is number one. Our vision is to be the premier, expeditionary, globally integrated medical force. And so this really ties into all of that. You know, to be premier means that we're the go-to ones, the number one person that you're going to think of when you need a special capability. Expeditionary, clearly this is it, to be able to pick up and go when asked to wherever you're asked to go.
Army medicine, one team, one purpose, conserving the fighting strength.
All righty, yeah. So, yeah, I know Jim Zarnick there, our team member in AFRICOM, you know, understands that and appreciates that. So and again, I appreciate all the folks that put this together, and Mr. O'Toole and his team to, you know, really go to these different places. And that actually was the team that was on the back of that aircraft. They were initial boots on ground 20 May for the first team, and the second team now is doing the left seat, right seat ride to replace them, and we've got a third one to make sure that this mission does not go uncovered. And so, again, this is a story of a team effort from everyone on the Army team, and making sure that we're not out ahead of our Army. So the G3 and our FORCECOM folks were also heavily involved in this as well. So again, you know, this is the story of Army medicine, doing things like this, and I hope that we continue to do this in the future to be adaptable and agile to meet our needs. And so in order to do this, we have to have innovative solutions for complex problems, and so this is what we're here to talk about today. So without further ado, let's transition to our first panel. Thank you.